Hello and welcome. Right, so what happens after you've achieved success? Hi, my name's Joe O'Connor, founder of the Transformer Company, and my mission is to help 1 million veterans and business owner entrepreneurs achieve the goals, dreams, and aspirations they deserve. So, what can happen after you've achieved success? Right, well, I've been doing some reading because I'm interested in a few things, and as I go on, it'll become apparent what I mean by this. So, there's a disorder called somatic symptom disorder. And somatic symptom disorder is a mental health condition in which a person feels distressed about physical symptoms and has abnormal thoughts, feelings, and behaviours in response to them, right? Which is quite shocking, really. And the disorder can disrupt their daily function and quality of life. Now, back in the 60s, the people who were affected by this, believe it or not, were astronauts. Now, astronauts, right, and to some extent, they do today as well, but there's a lot more known about how the mind works, so it's a lot better understood. Back in the 60s, right, when the big race was on for the first to the moon between the Russians and Americans, right, it wasn't really understood, and all they wanted to do was get someone up into space and on the moon, without really concern about the consequences. So what happened is, you know, when you've been and you've achieved a goal that's massive, and then there's a point where you've achieved it, and what happens next? Well, that happened really when the most common adjustment reactions to the novelty of being in space. And what do I mean by this? Well, the symptoms generally included transient anxiety or depression, and the psychosomatic reactions, that's the things that you think about, also have occurred where anxiety and other emotional issues and states were experienced as somatic symptoms. And somatic symptoms are chronic physical symptoms that are associated with excessive thoughts, emotions, and behaviours that are not normal and can cause major distress and problems, which isn't really good, is it? Now, these symptoms also, believe it or not, include pain, fatigue, weakness, dizziness, or shortness of breath. And people with somatic symptoms may also have feelings of loss, isolation, and lack of self-worth. And this happened back in the 60s and after the astronaut program, and the 70s and beyond, actually, because when the astronauts came back down to Earth with a bump, with a bang, they recognised that they'd seen everything that they thought was available in the world. And what they often did was turn to gambling, drug addiction, sex addiction, anything that gave them a buzz. But the fact was that it was found to be short-term buzz and not lasting. So they had to find other things to occupy them. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, you know, this sort of thing is going on today. And I'm going to be coming to a sector of the public, if you like, that I'm most concerned about. But the next one as well, because I was a sports person, I was a physical training instructor in the army, and I saw all sorts of athletes at a high level and at a lower level as well. Now, looking at the real top class athletes, say for instance Olympians, for them, you know, they've been over to Paris, they've competed in the Olympics, been at high level, being treated like kings and queens, and now they're coming back, they've gone back to the countries, and there may be some media support and a lot of fanfare for the common man and woman. But the fact is that after that finishes, it's back to training if they're going to continue, or if they're not going to continue in sport, then it's to civilian life, which is pretty much like the same sort of experience that veterans get, military guys coming out, guys being men and women, and suffer. So this is known as post-Olympic depression and presents itself as an emotional crash. Right? It's just a big crash because after you've been performing at such a high level in sport and competing against the best athletes in the world, you just come back down with a a bang, same as, or a bump, same as the astronauts. And it's following the physical and mental peak of the Olympic Games. And during this time, right, guess what? Athletes can experience periods of confusion, loss of purpose, resentment even, negative self-worth and emptiness, right? And this is a whole concoction of things that isn't really conducive to what they're being used to, and neither was it for the astronauts. So now what I'd like to move on to is bringing it a bit more closer to home, because not many of us have been astronauts, and certainly not many of us have been Olympians. For the business community that I work with, right, did you know, for instance, that many entrepreneurs are predisposed to mental illness? And what do I mean by this? And by the way, if you see my eyes flicking away occasionally, what I've done is I've made some notes so I can make sure that I get all the salient points over to you during this session. Right, so did you know, for instance, entrepreneurs are 4 times, yes, that's right, 4 times more likely to suffer from depression than their neighbours, friends, family members who represent pretty much the general population. And many studies in the past have shown and argued that some entrepreneurs are predisposed to mental illness, including depressive tendencies, the same qualities that make you an outstanding entrepreneur, by the way. For instance, like creativity, ability to pivot, empathy, independence, self-drive, visionary, and crisis management skills may be rooted in negative life experiences. What do I mean by that? So all those positive vibes could have been developed and strengthened by maybe something in the past that's happened that wasn't that great in your life. And if you experienced any level of trauma in your past, and for those of you who know my story, you know I've had my first share of trauma. That's why I'm out with my mission to help you, because I want to help. Anything that I can do to help you get over stuff is job done for me. Right, so and these traumas likely resulted in many negative beliefs about yourself and possibly the world around you. Experiences of failure, shame, perfectionism. Oh, there's a good one, isn't it? Perfectionism. Right, well, that's a difficult thing to get, right? Give me a comment if that's right. Or what do you think about perfectionism? What do you think personally? Do you think it's achievable, or do you think it's like chasing a rainbow? You know, that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that's not really there. It's never been there. Surprisingly enough, though, you can create your own pot of gold, because it's about getting to know you. So coming back to this perfectionism and emotional or physical abuse, maybe, and this leads to anxiety, self-doubt, which can lead to various levels of depression. The thing is, even if you had the good fortune to have an idyllic childhood and a life relatively free of trauma, it does not disqualify you from feeling any of the negative stuff, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurs, right, are known, aren't we, to be at the front leading the crowds to get a great result. Whether that crowd be yourself, because obviously you have to lead yourself, or whether it's a team. The crowd, I just use that term as a catch-all, really. And the risk and uncertainty that come with the emotional roller coaster that is a founder's life, that can be enough to push to the brink of a breakdown quite often. And there's a tremendous amount of pressure to succeed from both internal and external sources. I don't know about you, but if you're anything like me, sometimes you just want to drive towards getting better results. Because when I started doing these live sessions, you know, and it's still not perfect, but as I've said before, done is better than perfect. I was thinking, should I press the button now? Should I not? Oh, what should I do? And then I thought, well, you know, when I've done it, when I've pressed the button, and I do the best that I can do, that's all that I can do, isn't it? And that's the same for you. Because there's a tremendous amount of pressure from yourself to succeed. And most entrepreneurs are hardest on themselves. Does that make sense? Are you with me on that one? How often, as an entrepreneur and a veteran, a military veteran, or someone who's driving to success, how often have you been tough on yourself? Right, so Because my mission is to help 1 million veterans and business owners achieve the goals, dreams, and aspirations they deserve. Right, you'll notice over my shoulder, you'll see your success matters, and it certainly does. It matters to me, and change your life. You can get a copy of my free downloadable ebook. Think You Can, Know You Can. I've talked about Think You Can, Know You Can before, just to refresh. And in fact, I heard it in the last session. I mentioned it. I heard it from a coach, one of the Olympians' coaches, that when they're on the start line, eight bods are on the start line, right? 7 of them think they can do it, and 1 of them believes they can win. And the Think You Can, Know You Can, this was written years ago, by the way, and it was all about when you get your mind into a position where you're thinking about something enough and successful, by the way, not the other stuff, then you can get yourself into a point where you master it, and then you know you can. So have you ever done something at the beginning, and because your knowledge is low, your anxiety is high, and as you go on, your anxiety gets lower because your knowledge grows, and then you end up from getting where you are now, which may be not firing on all cylinders, to where you want to be, which means you mastered it. So the Think You Can, Know You Can ebook, which is my free gift to you, you can download that, and you can click on the QR code and download your free book. Or in fact, you can also visit joeteams.com. joeteams.com, joeteams.com, is a resource that I've built, and for less than the price of 2 coffees per month, 40 pence a day, you can gain access to a multitude of success resources designed especially to get you from where you are now, maybe not firing on cylinders, maybe not feeling you can do it, maybe having an idea that you can, but because you're not confident, you're just not doing it, to where you want to be, which is firing on all cylinders, knowing what you want to do, getting you there, how to do it, and just believing in yourself so you can lead a team, you can lead yourself to success. So that's it for today. And until we meet the next time, have a brilliant day, and I look forward to chatting soon. Thank you.